Discovered an incredible secret. My daughter-in-law revealed they got married just 24 hours ago. The sun streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating flour dust swirling in the air like tiny little stars. Sarah wiped her hands on her apron, letting out a sigh of satisfaction after a long week of kneading dough and perfecting pastries at the bakery. She leaned against the counter and watched her son Alex playfully chase the dog in the backyard. The sight brought a rare smile to her face. It hadn't always been easy, but they had each other, and that was what mattered most. Yet, on this particular Saturday, everything felt unusually charged. When Alex breezed through the door with a girl by his side, Sarah's heart quickened. This was Emma, his new girlfriend, and what a whirlwind. The moment Alex began introducing her, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. Emma was charming and full of life, and they shared an instant connection over their love for baking. Suddenly, it was as if all the weight of Sarah's everyday struggles began to lift away, if only for a moment. But as they settled into conversation, doubts crept in. Sarah couldn't help but feel the sting of her insecurities. Emma came from money and privilege, while Sarah often counted every dollar. She pushed back the nagging feeling, allowing herself to savor the laughter and the stories floating gently around the kitchen. However, in the blink of an eye, that warmth turned cold. Just a day later, Sarah stumbled upon a hidden photo in Alex's things, a snap that stole the breath from her lungs. There they were, Alex and Emma, entwined in each other's arms, blissful smiles on their faces, with wedding rings gleaming from their fingers. The date stamped on the photo read just 24 hours before. Shock surged through her. How could this be happening? A mother's heart splintered. Alex! She shrieked, her voice cracking as she confronted them. The kitchen that had once felt inviting now seemed like a battlefield. Emma stood silently as Alex's eyes filled with hurt. We didn't want to tell you this way, he whispered, his voice barely a whisper, yet it echoed like thunder in Sarah's ears. In that moment, Sarah grappled with the swirling emotions within her. Anger, betrayal, confusion weighed heavily on her heart, as she realized that her once unshakable bond with Alex felt jeopardized. Everything she had worked so hard for, every sacrifice, felt like sand slipping through her fingers. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the tears pooled in her eyes, something shifted. She could hear her neighbors murmuring outside, their whispers filled with the kind of compassion that only neighbors can offer. They had seen Sarah battle life's challenges, and now they rallied around her, encouraging her to look beyond her initial reactions. As days passed, she learned that Emma wasn't just a privileged girl, but someone who understood the crushing weight of living up to expectations. Standing before the cracks in their relationship, Sarah's heart raced. Could she find it in herself to bridge the gap between anger and understanding? The world she had built felt shaky, but amidst the uncertainty, a whisper of hope emerged. Forgiveness was a hard journey, but it was one she contemplated deeply. How would they rebuild their story from here? The future hung on a fragile thread, and Sarah knew she had to decide. Would she cling to her pain, or would she take the leap toward healing? The days that followed felt like a haze, each one blending into the next. Sarah moved through her routines with an automaton's detachment. The smell of fresh bread was still her favorite, but now it only served to remind her of the warmth she once felt in her kitchen. Alex was quiet, an uncharacteristic shadow of himself. He still played with the dog, but there was no laughter, just a distant smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Sarah caught glimpses of him and Emma through the window, his hands squeezed tightly in hers, but the tender moments made her heart ache even more. "Mom," he finally said one evening, settling across from her at the kitchen table. The sunlight fell across their faces as he fidgeted. "We need to talk." She braced herself. The knot in her stomach twisted tighter, but she held her chin up, determined to face whatever storm was brewing. "About what, Alex?" "About us. About Emma. About you." His voice was hesitant, a whisper of uncertainty that made her heart sink. Sarah planted her hands flat on the table, forcing herself to breathe. What about us? He clenched his jaw, and for a moment she could see the boy she raised, the one who was fearless and could conquer anything. I love her and she loves me. We want to build a life together. The words resonated, and she noticed the soft determination in his eyes. You just got married. How can you know that? I know because I feel it, Mom. We didn't plan any of this, but when it happened it felt right. It's real. No, it's not real. You don't even know what you want. You're hardly out of college. Frustration burst from her. His expression softened. Maybe that's true, but do you remember when you met Dad? Didn't it feel right? The mention of her late husband made her heart constrict. Memories washed over her, the laughter, the plans, the dreams. That's different. We were older, more stable. I get that. But love doesn't wait around for the perfect time, he pressed. I just need you to understand that marrying Emma was a reckless decision. It was an answer to what has been missing in my life. Sarah fought back tears, torn between pride for her son's conviction and the fear of losing him to this whirlwind. You can't expect me to just accept this, Alex. You went and married someone without giving me the chance to be a part of your life. I wanted to show you before telling you. I thought you'd be happy for me. Happy? You thought I'd be happy? You took away my chance to meet her family, celebrate with you, and plan a wedding together. She felt the heat rise in her chest, each word tumbling out before she could catch them. He leaned back, hurt washing over his face. What do you want from me, Mom? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you or to hide anything. The distance between them felt monumental, like a chasm that couldn't be crossed. She felt exposed, angry, but beneath it all, a suffocating sadness filled her. I just want my son back. Silence thickened the air, heavy with unspoken words. She caught the worry in his eyes, the realization that their bond was fraying. We have to figure this out together. I don't want this to destroy us, he said softly. A flicker of hope sparked within her again. Maybe healing was possible. Maybe understanding could mend what was broken. Let us try, Sarah whispered, and as the words escaped, she could feel a thread of connection still tethering her to him. But could they truly rebuild what felt irreparably shattered? A sudden knock interrupted them, jolting Sarah from her thoughts. She glanced toward the door, and a wave of confusion washed over her. Who could that be? Seeing the uncertainty mirrored in Alex's eyes, anxiety swelled within her. What if this visit changed everything again? The knock echoed in the silence of the kitchen, and Sarah felt her heart rate quicken. She exchanged a puzzled glance with Alex, who raised his eyebrows in uncertainty. The afternoon sun streamed through the window, illuminating the dust motes swirling in the air, a stark contrast to the tension thickening around them. Maybe it's just a neighbor, Alex suggested, but there was a tremor in his voice that belied his casual tone. Or maybe it's someone we don't expect, she murmured more to herself than to him. Doubts crept in, mingling with an unsettling sense of dread. She stood slowly, careful not to betray her anxiety as she crossed the room. When she reached the door, she hesitated. A part of her wanted to run and hide from the uncomfortable truth of her son's choices, the family eat away of grief that still lingered. But she took a deep breath and opened the door. Standing there was Emma, a mixture of excitement and apprehension evident on her face. Her hair was slightly tousled, as if she had rushed to get here, and she held a bouquet of wildflowers, vibrant colors bursting against the backdrop of her simple dress. Hi, Sarah, she said, her voice light, almost too bright for the moment. I hope I'm not interrupting. Sarah felt a surge of emotion, torn between immediate warmth for the girl who married her son, and the whirlwind of confusion and hurt simmering just below the surface. No, you're not interrupting, she replied, keeping her tone steady, almost professional. Emma stepped inside, her eyes flitting to Alex, then back to Sarah. I wanted to talk to both of you. There's something we didn't tell you yesterday. Her voice shook slightly but grew stronger as she continued. We got married less than 24 hours ago. The words hung in the air like a cloud ready to burst. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Her mind raced through the implications of Emma's announcement, each one weighing heavier. This was real. This was irreversible. Alex shifted in his seat, unsure where to place his emotions. We thought we could find the right time, Mom. I wanted to let you know on my own terms. What do you mean right time? Sarah exclaimed, her voice rising again. tinged with a mixture of disbelief and frustration. You just shipped your life into a whirlwind without any consideration for those around you. I know it seems sudden, Emma interjected, her eyes flickering with fear. But we felt it was the right thing to do. It was a decision born from love, and I love your son. Love? Love is a commitment, Sarah said, struggling to keep her voice steady. And you think 24 hours is a commitment? Mom, please. Alex interrupted, his impatience rising. You can't blame Emma for this. We wanted this together. The tension felt like a taut string about to snap. Emma took a step forward. I know this is difficult. I just want you to get to know me, to understand how deeply I care for Alex. I didn't just rush into this blindfolded. Sarah wanted to scream, to argue, but somewhere beneath her anger, the idea began to take root that perhaps this moment was about more than her. She saw Alex's sincerity, the way he looked at Emma with an openness she hadn't fully recognized before. What do you want from me? She finally asked. Emma's gaze softened as she handed the bouquet to Sarah. I want you to give us a chance. I don't want to replace what you had with your husband, but if there's any way you can support us, I promise we will do everything we can to prove ourselves to you. Suddenly, the gravity of the moment felt even heavier. Sarah stared down at the flowers in her hands, the colors too brilliant against the muted backdrop of her emotions. Could she, despite everything, allow a new family to blossom from the roots of her heartache? But the crux of the question lingered in the air. What if accepting this love meant releasing the past? A new wave of desperation crested within her. Could she really take that step toward healing, even if it meant leaning into the unknown? As Alex and Emma waited for her response, she felt time stretch around them. The door to the past was still ajar. But could she step through it into a future that felt so unsteady? The answer hovered just out of reach as the three of them stood there, bound by love yet frayed by uncertainty. The bouquet trembled slightly in Sarah's hands, as if the flowers themselves sensed the uncertainty of the moment. She could feel the weight of Emma's gaze on her, full of hope and fear, and for a fleeting second, she wished she could somehow pull the flowers apart, tread carefully through the colorful petals to find clarity. I'm not sure this is the right decision, Sarah finally managed, her voice a mere whisper, barely rising above the distant hum of the afternoon. She felt her heart twist painfully in her chest. The thought of Alex and Emma celebrating a bond that felt too shiny, too new, cast a shadow over the memories of her own love, which still felt raw and fragile. Mom, I know it's fast, Alex spoke up, his voice steady but muffled by his own turmoil. But you've always taught me to follow my heart. Emma's my heart. That's easy to say, Sarah replied, a surge of frustration flaring up again. And what about the rest of us? What about the family that still feels incomplete? Emma stepped closer, her expression earnest. We're not trying to replace your husband, Sarah. This is about love and moving forward. We want your blessing, but even if you can't give that yet, we still plan to build a life together. Panic ignited in Sarah. You can't just jump into this. I can't just stand by and watch you make mistakes. Alex's eyes burned with an intensity that nearly broke her. I'm not a child anymore, Mom. I need you to trust me. I didn't rush into this without thinking. I know who she is to me. What if it falls apart? She asked, her voice trembling, eyes pleading for understanding. What if you're not ready? There was a moment of silence, heavy, loaded with unanswered questions. Sarah held her breath, unwilling to voice her fears fully. They felt too raw, too risky to put into words. Then we'll deal with it, Emma said softly, her demeanor calming during the storm of emotions swirling around them. But if we don't try now, we'll never know. As Sarah looked into Emma's eyes, she saw something beyond youthful innocence. It was conviction and purpose, qualities she had admired in the past. And yet, it felt so intertwined with her heartbreak that her chest tightened. I want you both to be happy. But it's hard for me not to see the shadows of my past, Sarah said, her voice now cracking. I can't just erase the memories of your father. A small silence lingered again, the air pulling taut. Emma looked at Alex, and a shared understanding passed between them. Then Emma turned back to Sarah, resolve written all over her face. It's okay to feel how you feel. I won't rush you. But I need you to know that I care for him deeply. I promise to treat him well. With trembling hands, Sarah reached for the vibrant flowers, as if their beauty could somehow shift her perception. She could either accept them as symbols of hope or cast them aside as reminders of the unknown. But that choice wasn't hers to make alone. It was shared between the three of them. Tears pooled in Sarah's eyes as she finally whispered, "I just don't know if I can let go of the past." Emma stepped closer and placed her hand on Sarah's, the warmth of her touch almost surprising. "Then let us take it one step at a time. We don't have to rush into anything, but we can start with understanding." As those words settled like a subtle promise in the air, Sarah felt the tiniest flicker of hope. Perhaps this was a call to embrace a new version of family, one that wasn't built on forgetting but on integrating love and loss. But just as she thought she could entertain the idea, a loud crash echoed from the other room. It shattered their moment like glass breaking on a hard floor, pulling them from the fragile connection they had just begun to forge. "What was that?" Alex asked, alarm flashing in his eyes. Before Sarah could respond, a sense of dread overcame her. Could there be another layer to their fragile new reality waiting to emerge? And who or what would be the next to confront them amid this shifting world of emotions? The sound of breaking glass lingered in the air like a ghost, heavy and uncomfortable. Sarah's heart raced as she exchanged panicked glances with Alex and Emma. What could it have been? Her mind raced with thoughts that felt too dark to entertain. "Stay here," she instructed, instinctively stepping toward the noise. The word "stay" hung in the air, almost a plea as she walked down the dimly lit hallway that led to the source of the crash. Her pulse quickened, heart pounding in her ears like a ticking clock. As she rounded the corner, Sarah froze. There, amidst a mess of broken picture frames and scattered memories, stood a figure. For a brief moment, the tension clenched her stomach. But then recognition washed over her. It was Mark, her late husband's brother. "Mark," she called out, voice trembling with a mix of confusion and relief. "What are you doing here?" He looked up, the worry etched on his face camouflaged with embarrassment. "I came to check on you. I didn't mean to crash in like this." "Clearly," Sarah muttered, trying to summon a smile despite her rapid heartbeat. "What happened?" He gestured to the mess on the floor, his hands lifting defensively. "I thought I heard voices. I wasn't sure if everything was okay." Yeah, everything's fine," Sarah interrupted, still frazzled. "We were just having a serious conversation." Mark nodded slowly, glancing between Sarah and the broken frames. "I guess some things never change around here. Always too much drama," he added, trying to lighten the mood. Just then, Alex and Emma appeared behind Sarah, their expressions etched with worry. Emma gasped at the sight of the clutter. "What happened?" she asked, her voice filled with alarm. "It's just Mark being his usual clumsy self," Sarah replied, shaking her head, trying to play it off. But she felt a strange knot tightening in her chest now, like a warning signal. The moment of potential healing she had just begun to explore felt fractured by this unexpected arrival. "Are you okay?" Alex asked Mark, concern flickering in his eyes. "Yeah, just startled," Mark replied, brushing off the shards of glass from his jeans. Emma couldn't resist a small laugh, nervous but genuine. "If you wanted a dramatic entrance, you could have just knocked." Mark smirked slightly, though the atmosphere remained tense. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something more was brewing beneath the surface. The crash had interrupted a pivotal moment. It felt symbolic of the cracks in their family's foundation. "Maybe it's time for some good news?" Mark offered unexpectedly, lighting up with a sudden idea. "I actually have something to share. It's big." "Now," Sarah blurted out, a mixture of annoyance and intrigue. She didn't want any more surprises. "Not today." "Yeah, why not?" He pushed forward, his expression earnest. "I got married." The words hung in the air, a shocking revelation that spun Sarah's world a little more. Alex's jaw dropped and Emma stepped back slightly, unsure how to digest this news. "Wait, what?" Alex exclaimed, his voice rising. "Married? When?" "A day ago," Mark admitted, a hint of giddy pride in his voice. "We decided to elope." Sarah inhaled sharply. The double whammy of emotions swirled violently inside her. Just yesterday things felt charged with uncertainty, and now this? Mark's choice wasn't just a detail. It felt like an echo of her own scattered emotions about love and family. "Mark, that," as she started, but the words fell silent. As Alex faced Mark, a flood of questions began to surface. Questions that felt tangled with the very essence of their shared grief and new beginnings. How could the lines of their family look so different? Sarah felt her heart clench again. Everything was shifting beneath their feet, and only chaos seemed to rule their reality. What would this mean for her family? For Alex and Emma? As Sarah felt a tightness forming in her throat, she whispered, "This changes everything," and with that, the questions loomed larger than ever, threatening to overshadow the fragile hope she had just started to nurture. What was hidden behind Mark's sudden marriage? What other secrets awaited them as they tried to navigate the unfamiliar waters of their ever-evolving bond? Mark's announcement hung in the air, thick and heavy, fueling a whirlwind of emotions. Sarah felt her walls starting to crumble. "Why wouldn't you tell us?" she managed to ask, her voice trembling with a mix of disbelief and betrayal. "I wanted to," Mark replied, his tone softer now, almost apologetic. "But it was a last-minute decision. We didn't want a big fuss, not yet." Alex frowned, clearly struggling to process this news. "Not a big fuss? Mark, this is huge. You can't just drop something like this on us with no warning." Emma looked between the two men, trying to piece it all together. "But who did you marry? Do we even know her?" "Her name is Lily," Mark said, enthusiasm flickering for a moment. "You would love her, I swear. She is amazing." Sarah felt a pang of something she didn't want to acknowledge. Jealousy, maybe? The thought of Mark finding a connection, a replacement for the family they all lost, twisted her stomach. "How do you even know this is the right decision?" she pressed, the frustration boiling to the surface. "You haven't had time to even process your own grief." Mark shifted uncomfortably, avoiding her stare. "I do know what I want, Sarah. We all have our ways of healing." He took a breath. This felt right. "I felt alive again." The words hit Sarah hard, as if he were throwing open a window she wanted closed. "But what about Mom? What about her memory?" The silence that followed felt like an acknowledgement of the jagged edges of their shared history. Mark's expression faltered as he looked down. "I'll always love her. But I'm allowed to find happiness, aren't I?" "Of course you are," Sarah replied, the tension in her voice mellowing slightly. "But have you thought about how this affects us? The four of us? Our family dynamics?" Mark met her gaze, their eyes locking a moment heavy with unspoken understanding. "That's why I came here. I wanted to explain. I didn't want to hide this part of my life from you anymore." Emma, observing the tension, stepped forward. "Look, maybe this is a change we didn't expect, but if it makes you happy, we should support you, right?" Sarah shot her a warning look. "But shouldn't we be more cautious? What if Mark is rushing into something?" Yet, deep down, Sarah knew her heart ached not just for her own uncertainty, but also for Mark's brave step into an uncertain realm. Suddenly, the fragmented pieces of their situation brought forth a vulnerable thought. "Mark, don't you think maybe we could have just had a conversation before this? About everything?" His shoulders fell, visibly affected by the truth in her words. "I didn't know how. Felt too complicated." "Because it is complicated," Sarah confessed, feeling a sense of exhaustion wash over her. "But we're family. We need to navigate through this together." The reality of their situation settled around them like a thick fog. Emma grabbed Alex's hand tightly, and they all stood there, trapped in the traumatic memories and emotions of the past. And then came the sound of a joyous laughter that broke through the tension. It was Mark, grinning widely. "We could have a family dinner. Introducing you all to Lily. Just imagine how wild it'll be." "Wild is one way to put it," Sarah blurted out, the corners of her mouth twitching upwards against her will. An awkward moment of laughter broke the tension, but it felt shallow, the specter of grief hovering nearby. "Yeah, let us gather everyone for a toast," Mark said, excitement creeping back into his voice. But as Sarah's thoughts raced, fear and curiosity collided in her mind. What if Lily was more than just a bright spot in Mark's life? What if she brought along her own secrets? "Before we dive into all that family chaos," Sarah said, trying to anchor her nerves, "can we at least talk about what this means for us?" But as her words settled into silence, the air grew thick again, filled with uncertainty. What did it really mean to weave a new family thread into the delicate fabric of their grief? And would they all be able to embrace both the old and the new? Mark's sudden announcement had opened a door, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that it might lead to a hallway filled with more shadows than light. Mark's excitement radiated throughout the room, but Sarah remained tethered to her doubts. Emma's smile faltered, while Alex bit his lip, looking at Mark as if waiting for the punchline to a joke. Yet none was coming. What if she doesn't fit in with us? Alex finally asked, his voice low, perhaps sensing they were on the brink of something. How do you know we'll accept her? Mark took a deep breath. I just know. I wouldn't have married her if I didn't believe she belonged. He glanced around at his siblings, his eyes pleading for understanding. But you don't know what we're struggling with, Sarah countered, the heaviness of the past creeping into her chest again. It's not that simple, Mark. Nothing is simple after losing Mom, he said, his voice rising slightly. But life keeps moving. We can't freeze in grief. This is a chance for all of us to heal. Mark's words echoed in the corners of Sarah's mind, a mix of defiance and longing. She felt the familiar sting of tears threatening to spill. Healing felt like a foreign concept. How could they heal if they turned their backs on the love they had lost? Is Lily really who you think she is? She pressed, her anxiety palpable. What if she stirs up more pain? What if she doesn't understand? We've all built these walls, do you think she's ready to storm them down? I wouldn't let someone in who wouldn't respect our family or our loss, Mark assured her, determination in his eyes. This is about moving forward, not erasing what we had. An uncomfortable silence followed, punctuated by the ticking of the wall clock. Sarah's heart raced with resentment and confusion, each thought a reminder of what they were facing. It felt wrong to question Mark's choices, yet she couldn't help but worry about the impact on their already fragile dynamics. Emma finally broke the tension again, her voice softening. How does Lily feel about this? About meeting us? Is she prepared for what she's walking into? She's understanding, Mark replied. She wants to make it work. That's part of why we got married so fast. We didn't want to wait, we wanted to commit. But at what cost? Sarah thought, feeling her heart weigh heavier. She wanted to trust her brother, to share in his happiness, but doubt gnawed at her like a hungry wolf. What part of that commitment includes us? Mark's frustration with the situation was becoming evident. Can't you just give us a chance? A real chance? The room filled with tension as Sarah considered his words. Could she erase her fears for just one moment? Could she be happy for him, even if it meant sacrificing her own comfort? Through the charged silence, Alex stepped forward. Look, we can't change what happened, but maybe we can be open to new beginnings. We didn't ask for this situation, but Mark deserves to find joy even if it comes wrapped in new challenges. For a fleeting second, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they could find a way to blend their past and their future. But then a nagging thought shadowed that hope. Was she ready to meet someone who might change everything? Mark's expression softened, almost pleading. I just want my family with me. Please, will you try? The plea hung in the air, and Sarah found herself at a crossroads. Could she step into this unknown path, risking the fragile peace they had, for the sake of her brother's happiness? Uncertainty flooded her mind, and when she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. What if there are more secrets we don't know about Lily? What if? Suddenly, the doorbell rang, shattering the fragile moment. It echoed in the stillness like a gunshot, snapping their focus. Mark's eyes widened, a spark of excitement mixed with fear. That must be her. As Mark moved toward the door, Sarah's heart raced. What awaited them on the other side? And would their tangled family bond survive the storm of tomorrow? She took a deep breath, trying to quell the turmoil within. Would this new chapter bring healing? Or would it crack open wounds they weren't ready to face? The door creaked open, and the suspense filled the air. The next step was imminent. But what came next could change everything. Mark opened the door, and there stood Lily. She was stunning, radiant in a simple but elegant sundress that caught the evening light perfectly. Her hair flowed down her shoulders like golden threads, and her smile radiated warmth, though there was an edge of nervousness in her eyes. Hey everyone, she said cheerfully, but Sarah noticed how her voice quivered slightly. It was as if she was trying to project confidence while still feeling the weight of what lay ahead. Mark stepped aside, waving her in. This is my family, Lily. I can't wait for you to meet them. As Lily stepped over the threshold, Sarah held her breath. For a brief moment, Sarah felt an urge to step back, to retreat into the safety of denial. But she didn't. Instead, she stood her ground, trying to gauge Lily's energy and the sincerity of her smile. Hi, I'm Lily. It's so great to finally meet you all. Her enthusiasm was infectious. Yet there was an underlying tension that made Sarah uneasy. Emma stepped forward first, her natural warmth shining through as she enveloped Lily in a hug. "Welcome. I'm Emma," she said brightly, trying to bridge the gap. "I hope you like pizza because we ordered your favorite." Lily blinked, then broke into a giggle. "I love pizza. That's a great start." But Sarah remained still, arms crossed tightly over her chest. Alex approached next, his expression cautiously friendly. "I'm Alex. Good to meet you, Lily." There was a flicker of concern in his eyes, a silent question hanging there. Was this really right? "Nice to meet you, Alex," Lily said, her voice full of eagerness. "I've heard so much about you." The conversation danced around the room, the light banter masking the tension. They settled into casual discussions, sharing jokes and laughter, but Sarah felt like an outsider looking in. She couldn't shake off the feeling that this was all happening too fast, and beneath the surface of smiles lay the potential for heartbreak as they ate. Mark watched Lily like a hawk, a proud gleam in his eyes. He was beaming, and for a moment, the urge to support him swelled within Sarah. But as she glanced at Lily's radiant smile, she felt the edges of her heart tighten again. If only it were that simple. After what felt like hours of superficial exchanges, Sarah finally blurted, "So, how long have you known Mark?" Lily paused, surprised by the sudden directness. "Well, we met a few months back," she said carefully, glancing at Mark for confirmation. "But we just clicked. Like immediately." A flicker of a smile crossed Mark's face. "It was instant chemistry," he declared, his eyes soft as they met Lily's. "Instant chemistry?" Sarah repeated, her voice cold and measured. "And you think that's enough to build a life together?" The words slipped out before she could stop them, heavy and accusative. Lily's smile faltered for just a moment, but then she regained her composure. "I get that this all seems fast, but sometimes life doesn't give you time to think. I know what I want and I believe in us." "It's not just that," Sarah pressed. She hesitated, fighting the urge to say too much. "You have to understand how much we've lost in this family. Jumping into love might not be the best way to heal." Mark interjected, a worried look growing on his face. "Sarah, please," but Lily's expression changed, something dark flickering in her eyes. "I'm not here to replace anyone," she said softly, yet firmly. "I just want to be part of this family." The room fell silent. The air felt thick and charged, emotions swirling with unspoken fears and doubts. In that moment, it became apparent that this meeting could either ignite a spark of connection or deepen the divide that already lay between them. "Family can be messy," Alex broke the silence gently, "but we might just learn how to navigate this together." As the evening wore on, Sarah wrestled with her emotions. Could she really embrace this new person? Or would the wounds of the past prove too painful to bear? Lily glanced around, apprehensively as if sensing the turmoil. "I just want you all to know that I'm here for the long haul. I want to support and understand." But Sarah's heart remained heavy. Could they truly welcome a new beginning without losing sight of their past? And then, out of nowhere, Mark reached for Lily's hand, his thumb tracing reassuring circles over her palm. It was a simple gesture, yet it marked a significant moment of connection. Could this love bring them closer? Or would it drive them further apart? As they sat in silence, all eyes on the couple, Sarah sensed a storm brewing within her. What if Lily's arrival was only the beginning of deeper secrets yet to unfold? What if love, in all its forms, was about to be tested in unexpected ways? The atmosphere in the room was taut, every unspoken word feeling like a heavy weight pressing against them. Sarah watched as Mark and Lily's fingers intertwined, a symbol of their newfound connection that felt both hopeful and unsettling. She wanted to break free from the feeling that wrapped around her heart like a vice, squeezing tighter with each passing second. "Do you really believe knowing each other for just a few months is enough?" Sarah's voice cut through the silence once more, though this time it felt sharper, tinged with desperation. Lily paused, taken aback by the intensity of Sarah's gaze. "I know it sounds fast," she said slowly, as if carefully piecing together her thoughts. "But sometimes you find a connection that feels right in a way that's hard to explain. It's like you just know. Knowing each other isn't the same as truly understanding one another," Sarah countered, her heart pounding. Love takes time. Trust takes time. How can you two jump into something so serious? There's a lot at stake. Mark shifted in his seat, tension radiating off him. Sarah, we're happy. Can't you just be happy for us? Happy? You mean you're settling for illusion? Sarah shot back, her voice quivering. She could see the hurt creeping into Mark's eyes and guilt washed over her, but the need to protect her family overwhelmed her. Emma attempted to diffuse the escalating situation, her tone light. How about we switch topics? Lily, what do you enjoy doing in your spare time? Lily welcomed the change, her smile returning, though it lacked the same brightness. I love painting. It's my escape, a way to express what I feel. As they continued talking, Sarah's thoughts spiraled. Painting could be a way to express joy. But was it also a mask for pain? She studied Lily's face. What lay beneath that beautiful smile? Was it the hope of healing or a hidden storm? A knock suddenly interrupted them, causing everyone to look toward the front door. Mark's cheerful "I'll get it" broke the tension momentarily as he rushed to answer. When Mark swung the door open, a rush of laughter and an unexpected voice spilled into the room. Surprise! You guys didn't think we'd miss this, did you? It was Jamie, Mark's longtime best friend, and his wife Tara, beaming at the unexpected gathering. They stepped inside with a typical bubbly energy that could lift spirits in any situation. Hey, this must be Lily, Jamie exclaimed, pulling her into a friendly embrace. Mark has been raving about you. I can see why. The tension shifted, the atmosphere lightening as Jamie and Tara settled in. Conversations bounced around like popcorn, momentarily masking Sarah's inner turmoil. But in the midst of laughter, a tiny voice whispered that something was still off. I'm so glad you're here. We have something to share, Tara announced, glancing at Jamie, who appeared equally excited yet nervous. Mark grinned, clearly oblivious to the undercurrents swirling around. What is it? Then Tara dropped the news like a bomb. We just got married. In that instant, the room seemed to freeze. Mark's expression shifted from delight to confusion, and Sarah's heart began to race again, worry pooling in her stomach. Wait, what? He stammered, almost caught in disbelief. When? How? All eyes darted to Tara and Jamie, who were basking in their excited moment, yet something in their expressions shifted. Their smiles wavered, and recognition flooded their faces. I meant to tell you guys sooner, Tara said, guilt shadowing her eyes. But we didn't think it was the right time. The weight of her words sank into the room like a stone. Confusion morphed into concern, and Sarah felt the reality of everything crashing around her. Was this reveal a fluke? Or did it mean a reckoning was on the horizon? Because if Mark was this blind to quick decisions, how far could their family dynamics shift? Tension returned with a vengeance as Mark's gaze flicked back to Lily, and Sarah sensed a storm brewing that would enchant, enthrall, and possibly tear them apart. What other secrets hid beneath the surface, ready to surface and shake their foundations forever? The kitchen pulsed with energy, laughter filling the air like bubbles dancing in champagne. But for Sarah, the comfort of warmth remained just beyond her reach. As Jamie and Tara basked in their newlywed bliss, delivering their news like confetti to a crowd, Sarah felt the echo of their happiness turn into a dull thrum against the backdrop of her anxiety. Mark's expression oscillated between delight and disbelief. When did this happen? He asked, bewildered. The sense of surprise mixed with unease, tightening knots in the pit of Sarah's stomach. She glanced at Lily, who remained silent, her eyes darting like moths drawn toward the flickering light of their rapidly shifting dynamic. Just a few days ago, Tara answered, laughter fading into the tangible tension. It was spontaneous, thrilling. You know how we are. Mark shifted on the stool, the weight of confusion settling deeper. So what? You guys just decided to marry on a whim? It's more than that, really, Jamie interjected, his voice steady. We wanted to embrace the moment. We were both ready, and sometimes timing is everything, you know? His words hung heavily in the air, stirring the pot of unspoken fears. Sarah couldn't help but feel a pang of understanding tangled with irritation. The unpredictability of love and commitment felt suffocating now, looming shadows against the bright backdrop of their celebration. Ready? You can't just say love is enough to rush into something like that, Sarah blurted out, instinctively protecting her family while wrestling with the biting sting of raw emotion. Why not? Tara's gaze snapped to Sarah, determination glimmering in her eyes. If we waited for the right time, we might have missed out on something beautiful. Or it might blow up in your faces, Sarah retorted, her heart racing. Her pulse quickened. The fear of losing what little stability they had created felt overwhelming. Emotions flicked like peaking flames, ready to ignite. This wasn't about judgment, it was about love, loss, and the fragility of what they built after losing their foundation. Sarah, can't you just be happy for them? Mark's voice, soft yet steady, pulled her focus. The space between them shimmered with tension, a current of unanticipated confrontation. If this is what they want, why can't we support them? A pause fell across the room. The hum of life faded, replaced by heavy breaths and racing hearts. Each gaze exchange felt like binary code, understanding, confusion, yet no resolution in sight. What about my happiness? Sarah felt the words slip out, tearing at the fraying edges of her composure. You all seem to throw your pasts aside with reckless abandon. What about the hurt? The history? Emotions can weave into our decisions, but they don't define them. Jamie argued back, firm yet calm. Then what does? Sarah shot, voice trembling with raw hurt. What's the cost of that love? What happens when it ebbs, crashes like waves on the shore? Lily stepped forward, eyes blazing with newfound resolve. I'll never forget the pain, Sarah, but I believe in forging new paths, not living in the shadows. Can't we give each other grace? Because from what I see, we all need it. Silence spread across the kitchen like a blanket, the slow unraveling of the evening echoing in their faces. Each word carried not just weight but the possibility of transformation, the entangled dance of love and loss, hope and doubt. Then Alex, who had been quiet through the rising tide of emotions, finally spoke up. Maybe Tara's right. We can't control whom we love, and rushing doesn't mean we don't care. But maybe we should lean in and learn from each other, support each other. That's what families do. As he spoke, something shifted in Sarah's heart. A mixture of sadness and relief danced within her chest, as if Alex's words were a door cracked open to new beginnings. They spoke to the possibility of healing, maturity rising like a fragile plant breaking through the soil. Maybe we can start by sharing what we love about each other, Alex suggested, an earnest smile brightening his features. Honestly, no. One wants to feel alone in this. I love how you, Jamie began, his voice softer now, the corners of their collective anxieties starting to disperse into each other. Hesitation receded as memories poured forth, stories shared, moments cherished, laughter sounding like the melody of hope. Mark turned to Lily, his hand reaching out to hers. I love how you inspire light in this family. His eyes twinkled with sincerity. You already feel like home to me. Lily's cheeks flushed, and as the stories continued to flow, Sarah felt the walls around her heart crackle. She slowly inhaled, letting herself be swept into this dance of connection. Maybe I've been too quick to judge, she murmured, holding tight to the wildflower still in her hand from earlier. But can we promise to navigate this together? Let us take time to understand and time for growth. Silence followed the unexpected vulnerability, before Alex broke it with a warm grin. How about starting with dinner? More pizza. Chuckles erupted, the laughter uniting them like a fragile thread. As the evening unfolded, Sarah felt the swelling hope within, weaving strength into the fabric of their new family. Perhaps they could weave new beginnings alongside their cherished memories, crafting a tapestry rich with both joys and sorrows. Tears brimmed in her eyes as they moved toward the table, hands interlinked, a connection forged over hope and love. This was it. A new step toward healing, an acceptance of love in all its forms. And the backdrop, the lingering whispers of the past remained, but she refused to let them overshadow the possibilities alive before them. Here's to us and to the new stories we'll write together. Sarah raised the vibrant wildflowers high, feeling lighter under the warm glow of their shared laughter, a faith that they would find their way together. And amidst the dazzling chatter, two undeniable truths settled within her heart. Family, in all its complexities, is worth fighting for, and love is meant to be cherished, nurtured in the most unexpected ways, so embrace the unexpected, dear friends. And now, if you thought this was a family journey worth diving into, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss out on our next stories that explore love, loss, and transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Your support is everything. Comment and share your thoughts about this powerful story and how it hit you right in the feels. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this beautiful transformation. Only true fans understand how crucial their support is. Let us keep this journey alive.